Number one, adopt the role model mindset. When you adopt the role model mindset, that's the domino that knocks down every other strength you'll be required to call upon. As I'm going to endure difficulty in life, the kids are watching, others are observing and being influenced by me. There's a contagion out there, but there's also an emotional contagion out there. Let me be that role model in showing people how to deal with things with perspective, with being centered amid the storm, with the strength of intention to say,
you know what, I know this is going to be hard, so let me take care of myself and let me be kind to other people.
When we determine ourselves to be a role model, we literally change our behavior.
High performers seek clarity. I'll give you an example. If you have a meeting with Oprah, when she walks in that meeting, her first thing she asks is,
what's our intention for this meeting?
she's seeking clarity of what is this about? Where does it fit in? What's the priority? They're asking themselves questions constantly, and not questions of self-doubt, questions of clarity.
Need motivation?
Watch the top 10 of Believe Nation because I love it.
Hey, it's Carmichael, and I make these videos because I need them. Because I don't always wake up and feel motivated to go take on the day. And the thing that saves me, that helps me every day, is being around people who are thinking bigger, who are changing the world, and it gives me a little more inspiration to go after my mission. And so I hope this video helps you go up to yours today too. So today let's learn from one of the best, Brendon Burchard, and my take on his top 10 rules of success. Enjoy.
The first habit that we discovered of high performers worldwide, and high performers tend to be the top 15% of successful people in whatever field that is. And usually, and that's the broad 190 countries. In the US, it's the top 3%. Hands down, the habit that really changed their trajectory was this habit called seek clarity. Notice it doesn't say get clarity.
Yeah.
High performers seek clarity. I'll give you an example.
Yeah, please.
Like with Oprah. I've had the blessing of working with Oprah. If you have a meeting with Oprah, when she walks in that meeting, her first thing she asks is, what's our intention for this meeting?
Mm-hmm.
Now, lots of executives walk in meetings, they just start the meetings. She's seeking clarity of what is this about? And you take an underperformer in the work world or at your job, they just bumble in and they're like, okay, let's just do it. High performers go, what is this about? Where does it fit in? What's the priority? They're asking themselves questions constantly, and not questions of self-doubt, questions of clarity.
Mm-hmm.
Like, who could I be? What's my best self look in this situation? That's a question high performers ask. They want to know, how can I be of most service in this situation?
Mm.
A lot of people just go through the motions. High performers seek clarity. They ask the questions, and because they get clarity and seek clarity throughout the process, they get ahead faster. Because a lot of people and they're good, but a lot of people are just blunt force workers. They'll just go and do it. And they'll just apply force and will and hope and fire and hours at something. But often they're running in the wrong direction.
Yeah, absolutely.
High performers, it's like in directions. Some people will drive for 50 minutes. Other people will pull aside in 5 and go, hey, where do I go?
Mm-hmm.
That's the high performer, and they're going to get there faster and succeed in life. That's seeking clarity.
Rule number 2 is adopt the role model mindset.
Number one, adopt the role model mindset.
Okay.
When you adopt the role model mindset, that's the domino that knocks down every other strength you'll be required to call upon.
What's that mindset, bro? What does that mean?
Role model mindset means I realize that as I'm going to endure difficulty in life, the kids are watching, my friends, my family, others are observing and being influenced by me. There's a contagion out there, but there's also an emotional contagion out there. Let me be that role model in showing people how to deal with things with perspective, with being centered amid the storm, with the strength of intention to say, you know what, I know this is going to be hard, so let me take care of myself and let me be kind to other people. When we determine ourselves to be a role model, we literally change our behavior. We say, you know what? 2 things happen. 1, I want to be a role model because 3 months from now, 6 months now, from a year, when we look back, I want to be proud of my character and my behavior during this time. Please let me be proud of how I endured difficulty in my life. Please let me be proud of how I endured difficulty in my life. That requires intention for how you want to endure difficulty. And second, remembering the reality that we're relational animals, that others are observing and seeing and experiencing what we are. And so let's do a good job for them. Let's show the kids how our values are demonstrated in times of uncertainty. Let's show our team how we deal with scary, fearful business environments. Let's show our friends how much we will be for them when the going gets tough. That's the role model mindset.
Very
and
good.
It demands a lot of us, and it's easy to say, well, it's so much easier just to, go along and see how it turns out, and why don't we put our lives on pause? But if everybody did that, society wouldn't continue on.
Rule number 3 is revisit your ambitions.
Remember to revisit your ambitions every single week or day. Okay, so let me say that again. You thought deeply about your life and envisioned a compelling future, and you revisited that future every single day. See, what I tell people all the time is, there's this whole thing, people say, well, Brendon, I've lost my motivation. I go, you didn't lose it. You forgot to revisit it. Two very different things. Most people, the reason they're not as motivated as they could be is they're not looking at what would motivate them, right? They're just going through the day in reaction mode. And what we do know from, both positive psychology and optimism research, and well as what we found in our high performance research, is that people who are looking out towards the future, when they sit and they think about the future, it generates positive emotion, positive feeling. That optimism comes from anticipating the future and anticipating a good future, right? That's what I'm always telling people. The future holds good things for you, and you're stronger than you think. And if you believe those two things, it energizes you. And what happens at our event is I'm constantly getting people to realize that, to rethink their future, rethink how they'll be in the future, how they'll treat their family, how they'll manage their health, how they'll deal with other people, and how they'll envision even just simple things as their new mornings, their new morning routines. And it's so important that that's what is creating so much of the energy. Because remember, when we talk about energy in high performance, we call it capital E energy. That means it's not just physical vitality, right? Many people think of energy like do I have enough energy to run around the block, right? That's physical fitness or physical vibrancy. But there's two other components of energy too, right? There's mental energy and emotional energy. And so when we think about the future in positive terms, that's amping up our mental energy. And we can see it too. If we stuck you in an fMRI tube, right, a functional resonance tube that would allow us to see your brain activity, we could see without question that as soon as we get you thinking about your future, your brain and its activity changes. That different parts of your brain starts lighting up. And we know from hormonal release too, you get a little dopamine drip going in the back, a little serotonin. If you can see yourself having good things in the future, good relationships, things change. That's my question for you. Have you been thinking deeply about your life? So write it down. Write this down. You thought deeply about your life. You envisioned a compelling future, and you revisited that compelling future consistently.
Rule number 4 is set monthly goals.
I want to learn to be confident. I want to learn how to communicate well. And I want to learn to have great relationships. So I studied those things really intensely, and I just tried them. And I tried them, and I was so good about making little goal sheets and trying it. And that was the year I also began my monthly goals. So on the first of every month, to this day, I write a personal goal and a professional goal. That is outside of all the projects I'm trying to achieve. The personal goal is something like, be more patient this month. And every day I look out on the way out, I put on the door. I'd walk out and be patient. No matter what my other goals or objectives were, that was like the defining personal theme. So I created monthly challenge themes for 23 years. Patience have come up a lot of times. It's like joy has come up a lot of times.
Yes.
Staying centered has come up a lot of times. It's not like I have ever achieved. No one achieves personal development.
Agreed.
Or purpose.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
It is like an intention and a dedication. And so that's where it started. And by studying all that, it gave me the edge. I really believe when you are a student of life, especially in psychology and philosophy, you get the edge. Because when people are having problems, you can see perspective around it. And once you have perspective, you got superpowers. Because most people are trapped in their problems. And if you have perspective of how people have solved or managed these things in the past, you have superpowers to people. They can't believe, like, how did you know to say that or that? I'm like, oh, I read that in a personal development book 10 years ago. And that made the big difference for me.
Wow.
It made a big difference. So it's just reading. I mean, I read a book a week for 23 years.
I love that.
Never missed. That's not true. 4 times in my life I missed. 2 of them were in the hospital. So that's it.
Oh, wow.
I'm a reader. And then I try to apply it.
Yeah.
And then the ultimate challenge is I made my career about it. That forced me to develop skill. When I was a consultant first, then I became a coach, then decided to become a researcher and a writer in this field. I had to prove my chops. There was no just talk about it. It wasn't posting on Instagram because I didn't have that. It was, can I sit in a room with an executive and change?
Yes.
Can I get the change? Can I sit with a high profile athlete who's in trouble with their behavior? Can I get the change? Can I sit down with a person who wants to start a business and give them that confidence they need? Like whatever it was real-time challenges for so long that fortunately that experience helped me.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there.
Rule number 5 is optimize your health and wellness.
Optimize your health and wellness. Because if we're all out there fighting, whether it's this particular pandemic or it's future things, we all got to optimize our health and wellness, which I know you and I deeply, deeply, deeply care about with our people, because there's no separation between physiology and performance. There's no separation between mind and body. It's all the health of the sante. And so if you want to have bon sante, which means, positive spirit, it's going to come from health. And I think most people don't realize the major components of that all have to really activate together. Right now, you got to be on your A game in those things. When we did the study for high performance habits, at the time, and still is, to my knowledge, is the world's largest academic study of high performers. Yeah. So we evaluated people in 190 countries around the world. And, over 2 million data points. We had an epic team from University of Pennsylvania's positive psychology department, UC Santa Barbara's positive psychology department. We had a lot of smart people on this thing. And one of those habits was the ability for high performers to generate energy. You have energy to generate energy. And it's a lot easier to generate energy when you've been building it up and storing it up. I always tell people, the power plant doesn't have energy, it generates energy. A power plant takes energy from one source, transforms it into another, stores it, and transmits it. And so right now, we've all got to take energy from this low grade source, negativity, fear, upset, outrage, terror. We got to take that low grade energy, and we've got to be able in our mind to be able to transform that and transmit something different.
Rule number 6 is take deep breaths.
This is a big one for everybody. You took 10 deep, this is what people do at HPA. We took 10 deep breaths and body awakening movements every 50 to 60 minutes. So those silly exercises, if you're into HPA, where you stand up and you bounce in place. So we have people, we'll have them stand and we'll have them bounce in place and close their eyes and take 10 deep breaths. Like that, bouncing 10 times. And I tell the audience, it's not a deep breath unless I can hear you breathing. That is how we're getting that kind of energy. Now, this is the physical vitality part of it, right? We're energizing our body, bouncing up in place, right? Just moving around that lymph a little bit, activating our blood flow a little bit from having sat down so much, taking in those 10 deep breaths, giving our brain a hit of oxygen, and people are like, woo! Like, they don't know it because it's so subtle that first, 2 or 3 times we do it. But then what happens is, then we're on day 2 or 3, And that momentum of feeding our brain oxygen for 2 or 3 days at elevated levels than most people are used to, moving around more consistently than most people are used to, that changes the game. Look, one of the world's largest studies was just done on productivity. And it's a productivity app that basically tracks people's productivity throughout the day, and I can't remember what it's called. I'll find it. But what they did is they found out that the most productive people in the world tended to take a break at 52 minutes. So they worked throughout every day, they'd work for 52 minutes. They'd take a break anywhere between 5 and 17 minutes. Come back, 52 minutes, intense. Break, 52 minutes, intense. Now, the app is just proving what I've been teaching for over 10 years of my life. I've been teaching this 50-minute break idea. Because, why? Because I found it in my own life, I found it in my client's life, we found it from qualitative studies, and now we've quantified it as well. That 50-minute mark is a magical time in which your body says, dude, I need a break. Your brain says, dude, I need a break. And every one of us wants to push through those times, right? Or we think, I feel fine, I'll keep going. But you need to rest, you need to recharge. And so these 50-minute breaks are built into the curriculum. Now, it's not always exactly 50 minutes, but in general, between every 50 and 75 minutes, I have the audience changing up what they're doing, either physically and taking these deep breaths and movements, or socializing something, standing, talking, doing something like that. But there's a high level of movement and breath that's gonna happen between 50 and 75 minutes across my 4-day seminar. And so what does this mean to you if you don't go to seminars? It means, and I've taught this for so long, I hope you do this, when my butt hits my chair, my timer starts on my phone, and at 50 minutes, I'm standing up and I'm bouncing and I'm doing 10 deep breaths.
Rule number 7 is be decisive.
One of the higher performers in the world, Jeff Bezos, who started a little company called Amazon.
Tiny.
He talks about this idea that he and executive team makes decisions when they have about 60% of the information.
So I'm 10% above Jeff Bezos. So
Yeah.
I should.
Yeah.
I should bring down.
But you think about that for a minute.
Yeah.
Like, wait a minute. A person and a team that could get all the information in the world, what they do is they're moving forward even when they don't have everything. And what perfectionists do, what they don't realize is there's a difference between perfection. Remember, perfection is to perfect, in motion, iterative, moving. It's active. What they also can't admit sometimes is the real struggle is they're indecisive. Most perfectionists, they actually know the next moves. And I'm like, go, SWAT team, make it happen. Release it, drop it, do it, go. And I'm cheering them on. I'm like, go. Like, for everyone listening, you need to know high performers are decisive, not because they are like, I know everything and I've got clarity. They know if they don't drop it, if they don't release it, if they don't do it, they can't iterate it and make it better. They can't learn, just like you said. And worse, they can't be of service. Because when you're in silence in your life, and you're in silence because of fear in your life, not silence like the way you and I talk about it in a positive way, being still and silent inside, that's a positive thing. But when you are in silence in a way in which you are suffering because of fear, you are not going to be able to serve. You have to be in motion to serve. You have to release things to perfect it. You got to be decisive.
Rule number 8 is take breaks.
High performers, what is high performance? It actually academically means something in our study. It means people who achieve long-term success while also still maintaining well-being, which is usually based on happiness and fulfillment and health, and positive relationships. Because there's this myth, I can't achieve high performance without burning myself out, without the grind, without, wiping myself out 24/7, outworking everybody else and all these other things. And hey, for some people that's true. However, high performance it's based on long-term success measures in any given field. And you can't have long-term given success if you wipe out your health or your positive relationships. And so on the health aspect of things, one thing that people do is they think, we're saying just work out 24/7, do all these things. The world's largest study on productivity that's ever been done, one of my favorite studies that's ever been done, found that high performers, the people who achieve the most, produce the most, and feel the most fulfilled, they take breaks every 52 minutes.
Wow.
So every 52 minutes, they break from whatever they're doing.
Wow.
So in my life, that it kind of shows up at, when my butt hits the chair, I literally set my iPhone for 50 minutes. 50 minutes starts. When it goes off, I stand up if I'm sitting down. I might bounce in place and close my eyes because visual fatigue is very, 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 very intense for people on screens. So bounce in place, close my eyes, take 10 deep breaths, get some water, might hit the ground and do a few push-ups and vinyasa flows, come back up, set my intention and go. Because those pit stops throughout the day, listen y'all, pit stops throughout the day is how the race car wins the race. The high performance machine actually doesn't need the pit stop. It takes the pit stop so it can go faster longer. The high performance machine doesn't need the pit stop. It actually takes the pit stop so it can go faster and longer. So you have to have breaks on the hour. So people always confuse, well, Brendon must be saying go, 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 go. Actually, I'm saying go, pit stop, go, pit stop, go, pit stop. And that way, when I hit, 6, 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night and people are with me, they're like, holy, how are you still going? I'm like, because I've been recharging every hour while you've been burning the candle every hour at both ends. It's that recharge that really help performers go longer at what they do. So I really practice that.
Rule number 9 is surround yourself with good people.
This is what I'm telling you. The most successful people in the world I work with, they think they bring me in for one reason, and I go, oh, you don't feel life anymore. And they're like, oh, yeah, that's it, man. Yeah, wow. So I'm just giving you the answers in advance. The answers in advance is you want aliveness, so you got to build that in. What's going to make you come alive? I want you to write that down right now and throughout this weekend. What's going to make you feel like that sense of aliveness, that sense of pop? Adventure, passion, hobby, time to break, hanging around higher level people, getting around the energy you're experiencing here. Because who's having a good time at Growth Day, ladies and gentlemen? Aliveness, what's the word? Oh, you don't know how bad you need that until you date somebody dead. You know what I'm saying? You ever go on a date with someone and you're like afterwards, someone's like, how was he or she or they or whatever? And you're like, man, it was the worst. They were so boring. They were like dead. And your friend's like, that bad? And you're like, oh, it was awful. And a lot of the world is there right now because they're in resentment. And sometimes people in the back of the cage look really bored. But they're not. They're resentful and bitter and they feel alone. And so we got to bring them back and we got to rattle a little bit. And we got to get them around a different quality of people. We got to put them on a different chessboard. We got to get them around people like this, like the person to your left or right, who's got a little pop, a little energy. And when you're around the right people and your community is like that, you're like, woo-hoo-hoo-hoo! It's like, how are you so energized, Brendon? I'm like, I don't have any jerks around me. The people around me, they got good energy. The people around me are like you and you and you and you guys. I got so much joy. Like, how do you have so much joy? I'm like, I'm around joyful people. How are you so high performing? I'm like, I like high performing people. I gather them. We get in groups. We hang out. We do this kind of stuff. This kind of energy. Some people will make fun of this kind of energy. I'm like, go hang out with the opposite then. And tell me what that's like. Because that's not what we're after. We're after, what's this word? What are your practices to feel it every day? Every day. You got to find it in the simplest of things. Everything you do can improve by putting a practice in for aliveness.
And rule number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is celebrate small wins.
A lot of people's negative emotions comes from they're just so high strung and they've never integrated the success that they have. You know, they keep beating on themselves over and over and over again, and they're not giving themselves any credit. And so if you feel like a lot of negativity, you probably also lack a practice of integrating the wins, of taking a moment and taking a beat to celebrate what you have done. Because if you don't celebrate, how are you supposed to feel positive? And so many people don't have a practice of that. They only celebrate, at huge milestone achievements. But each day, you can journal about what you did well that day and how you handled stress or struggle well that day. And you can give yourself that credit. And as you give yourself more credit, it's like building a bank account of positive emotions, right? I give myself a lot of credit. Like after I finish this one, I'll go, I did an entire live webcast with a nostril full of powder. Unbelievable, Shard. Yeah, the stupid little things that you have to celebrate like that when you made it through something that was difficult or hard. You got to celebrate those things. You make it through more difficulty and stresses and struggles throughout the day than you give yourselves credit for. You didn't freak out with your kid today. Give yourself credit for that instead of feeling like a bad mom all the time. You didn't snap at that coworker who was driving you crazy today, so your relationship will be good. Give yourself some credit for that. Good job, you were patient. Well done. These things, as we give ourselves more credit, we feel better for ourselves. As we feel better for ourselves and our esteem goes up for ourselves, the negative emotions don't knock us off track as much.
When I say you can achieve most of your ambitions in the next decade, I genuinely mean that. It might not be at scale for some of the things that people want to achieve. I'd like to sell my company for $400 million, Brendon. Well, I don't know if that's going to happen in the next decade, but I know you can achieve financial freedom in the next decade. If that is your focus, if that is something that you want, if that is what you build and architect toward, if you are a person who says, well, Brendon, I would love to be known in this area. I would love to achieve that thing. I would love to open up my new store. I would love to move across the country or across the world. I would love to travel the globe. Look, you don't have to have crazy means to do any of those things. Most people think, well, one day I'll live in a nicer neighborhood. That could be literally in 3 months from now. And people don't believe that. And so they think it's going to take 5, 6, 7 decades. When the truth is, it's all about scale of ambition and how much we really want. And that's why instead of saying decade of achievement or decade of all your perfect dreams, I'm like, let's make it the decade of mastery. Because if you achieve mastery in your craft, you achieve mastery in your relationships. You achieve self-mastery over your emotions, your physical body, your mental and spiritual realms. Then guess what? Everything that shows up is either joyful and fulfilling or not. And so I'm here to tell you, you can have more in this next decade than you imagine right now. And I'm not here to be your hype guy. I'm here to explain literally the psychological underpinnings of what makes that true. You can have way more in the next decade. You can experience more in the next decade. You can feel more in the next decade than you're probably imagining now. Because sometimes at this time of year, you're just crash landing into the end of the year. You're trying to get all your projects done. You're trying to get gifts bought for everybody in the holidays. You're trying to wrap up all those little tasks that you still have outstanding. And right now, it's just stressful and it's a hurry and you're trying to get everything done. If you're here today, it's all about how do we design a decade of mastery? Because it is through self-mastery that we gain the things we truly want. It's through self-mastery that we become more disciplined. It's through self-mastery that we create and cultivate the emotions and experiences we want of life. It's through self-mastery that we're able to be more patient, kind, loving, and thoughtful with people. It's through self-mastery that we're able to discern what we really want. It's through self-mastery that we're able to say no and set some boundaries. It's through self-mastery that we're able to get ourselves in good health. It's through self-mastery that we're able to get here in this moment when it's time to serve and feel good, find that positive aspect, and lead well. All of it requires us to master ourselves. And I really believe it is through the vehicle of self-mastery that you are going to achieve whatever your big ambitions and goals and dreams are. A lot of people don't change or engage personal development because they don't have drive, that reason, that why, but they don't have hunger for excellence and contribution. That's what drive really is. Some people think drive is just the connection to why. Lots of people have a why. They got their kids, but they don't have drive, real hunger for excellence and service. That mastery mindset that wants to build and grow and serve others, that pulls them out of those funky days. We got to reconnect to those things. Your hunger for excellence, develop mastery. Why? So you can serve more people or serve deeper or love more, even just your family or immediate friends. Because if you can do that, if you can have the drive, you can inspire others to grow. You can overcome their own disbelief, their discouragement, the division, their lack of direction. They will see you as an example. And that, if anything, if that's all we could be for others, what a well-lived life. To be an example for others of what's possible. Be present. Try to be present. Like, I really believe, as Denise does, it's like when couples have learned mindfulness, when both of them have learned how to be self-aware in the moment, to be non-judgmental in the moment, to be able to come openly into the moment and be there with the other person in full presence, not stuck 5 years ago, present, everything changes. I would say what our partners, our spouses, our relationships, our families want from us isn't more presence, like material presence, like Christmas gifts. It's presence. They want more sense that we are grounded right here with them, attentive to them, accepting of them, in the moment with them, not trapped in old stories, not angry about the stress or the freaking out about the worries of next week or next month's bills, but rather at dinner with them, in the moment with them, on the walk with them, living in the present with them. And this one, I would guess Denise probably brought up because it's so important in times of conflict to be present with them and to be, I would say, like, if I had to think about like my presence with Denise, when we're struggling or when we're in an argument, I would say if I could give knowing what she needs in that moment more than what I'm kind of built or I was conditioned to as I grew up, is that presence with tenderness. That presence with tenderness. I think that's what lacks in a conflict or a fight. It's like one person's so worked up and the tenderness isn't there. And I raise my hand, I got to work on that. That is one of those things. I grew up I don't know about some of you, I grew up in a super fast twitch, like very speed up to argue, very vocal, not, I didn't grow up around any passive aggressiveness or quiet silence and conflict and judgment. It was all verbal and very physical. I grew up in a place where there was a lot of physicality, a lot, from the neighbors, the friends, the teachers. I mean, I grew up in a place where the principal could swat you with a wooden paddle. Like, literally, you got in trouble, you got beat by a wooden paddle by the principal. Like, I grew up so like crazy like that. And so my mind, until I was probably about 25, was conditioned for that. And I recognized in a relationship when I was 25, how quickly I got angered and wanted to storm out or scream or holler, or my ego had trapped up, but I was also just angry. I was an angry young man. I worked a decade really hard in personal development to let go of my anger that came from just how I grew up. I had to let go of that and let go of that. Not be perfect, just get a little better every day at it. But that means I was also conditioned that way. And I have to go, okay, that's a weakness of mine. And where does that come out? Usually for me, that will come out in an argument, right? If we're just not seeing something, I just feel it. I feel it literally come up. I feel the emotion of it. It just can be triggered. And what do I have to do? I've got to try to be present. That's why I love her language to this morning. I was like, oh, that's so good. I underlined try like 7 times. Just try. Put the effort back into being present with your partner or spouse, even in conflict, but also in the beautiful times. Put your dang phone down. Be at dinner with them, right? When you're intimate together, don't be staring off at the wall thinking about something else. It's like, try to be passionate, intimate again. Like, bring your awareness, your physical body, your mindset to the moment with the other person. I tell people all the time, I go, imagine you just found out your beloved partner or spouse is going to be gone in 3 days. They got a terrible diagnosis. I promise you would be so tender with them and so present. Well, none of us know when those days are going to come. None of us know we're going to lose the person. And as I've been with people towards the end, couples, all they want is to hold each other and to be tender with each other. And so being present is about living in this time zone with them right now, in the here and now, not the past, not the future, here. But it's being attentive, tender, thoughtful, and energetically co-creating together. Because some people say presence is, it sounds like presence is just tenderness and boring. I'm like, no, presence is pop and vibe and like the thrill of it all too, right? That when you went on those first couple dates with that person, you were locked in. You were interested in trying to learn about them. You cared about what your clothes looked like. You tried to smile. You tried to show some physical reaction to what they were doing. There was interest there. There was intrigue there. And you were both there, right? You're attentive. And if that relationship lasted, let's bring some of that back. That energy and the magic from that time you fell really in love, when you went crazy for each other. What was there? What was there? Intention. What was there? Mindfulness to one another. What was there? Acceptance, and also not just accepting them, but pulling them in with your presence. Like you were drawn in, right? You were drawn together, they say. What was that? That's that energy. That's that presence. That's bringing us together. We must rekindle that over and over and over in a relationship. It begins with both of us finding presence. You have to forgive others. I really believe that when there is self-hate, that we have to start somewhere with forgiveness. It doesn't mean we approve it. It just means we're deciding to let go of its emotional talons in us. We're not going to carry it anymore. That however we felt made sense. That was the feeling. I'm not taking that away. What I'm saying is now, today, as conscious adults who want to move in a new direction, let's make that decision not to carry that around and hate ourselves, because if we hate ourselves, we cannot fully express ourselves. If we cannot fully express ourselves, there's no way we will find a larger and larger audience. We can't scale it. The audience will feel that we're still trapped there. And just as you don't trust yourself because of self-hate, they'll pick up on something. It's hard to trust you. Your job is to find your emotional freedom. When you find emotional freedom, your audience grows. They trust you more. They want to watch you. They want to be with you. And I'll tell you what, if somebody did something to you, it sounds so crazy to say to forgive them, but part of maturity will be doing that. It doesn't mean you need to call them and forgive them. It means you need to recognize that they're human and they made a tragic and a terrible mistake. And they were tragically and terribly conditioned or trained or hurt along the way that they would hurt someone else, because hurt people. And there's probably a chain there somewhere that you might not be aware of that goes back, that caused their actions, or mental trauma or disorder that caused their actions. And it doesn't mean to make it right. It just means that today, forgiveness means you're going to forgive that connection between you and that person, so you can be free today. You don't have to forgive even the action. You don't have to forgive their intentions, because maybe they were bad. But the string that's holding your story and their story today, cut that with forgiveness. That string that is holding your story and their story, that past, you got to cut that string and find your own emotional freedom by forgiving the situation even.
Delegate 7 days in advance. Delegate 7 days in advance. He told me, and this was really interesting, and this is a coach who has taken teams to world champion levels. This was amazing. He said, Brendon, most people delegate day of. And I was like, oh my God, that's what I do. I get to that day, and because I'm so focused as an individual contributor in my career, I'll have my week planned out pretty good and pretty solid. And then on that day, when I'm doing a task, I'll go, oh, right, I need some help with this. And I'll delegate day of. And he said what he does is he sits down, like on a Monday morning, and he looks out at his week, and he immediately thinks of, what are all the questions I'm going to have? And what could all the things I could hand and delegate right now? And he delegates 7 days in advance. And I was like, that's pretty sharp. I mean, that is a weaponized high performer right there. Delegate not day of, 7 days in advance. So you need someone to go get you lunch on a Thursday, on Monday, or on Thursday before, say, hey, next Thursday, I need you to go get me lunch at 2:00. I know that's so basic, right? But it's almost the same thing as like, oh, you're working on getting your OVO up and you're going to have to make a logo. Okay, 7 days in advance, put it on to someone else and say, hey, need a logo in 7 days. Like, we don't think about that. What happens is now we get to the webpage and go, oh crap, it says upload logo. I don't have a logo. I better delegate that now. And what it does is it slows you down. So delegating in advance speeds up the schedule. And if you think this is no duh, let me ask you a question. Did you sit down at the beginning of this week and say, what are all the things I need to delegate? Because you know what? I didn't. So that's why I said, I suck at this one. And this is a big high performance habit for me this year. I really want to get better at it.
In relationships with ourselves and others, repair and recalibration is a weekly growth loop. It is a weekly effort. You don't have 10 years of a crappy marriage and sit down with a relationship counselor and hope to solve it in an hour. You don't have years of trauma and go to a therapist and think it's going to be solved in 2 sessions. You don't struggle with productivity and vision and drive and work with a coach and hope to say fix it in, 4-week sessions. It's an ongoing recalibration. Repair, trust requires that consistency. It just does in every relationship. It's why I'm always sharing with you, like in your relationships, you have to sit down on a Sunday or a weekend somewhere and talk about what you just experienced as a week and talk about what's coming up in this week, where you'll need help, what you really think, feel, desire, and need, and have that talking out every week. Because the more that you don't, the more this division starts happening and you didn't even know it. And one day you wake up next to a stranger, you go, I don't even know what you think, feel, need, or desire. Well, they didn't change in a dime. They changed over time, but there's no discussion. So it's a shock to you. It's a shock to them.
What else do people fail at? They fail to do the research. I want to lose weight. I want to lose weight. I want to lose weight. I can feel losing weight. I can see myself thinner. It'd be great. But then they go, gosh, I wonder what would be a healthy diet. I wonder what would be the best workout routine. And what do? They go watch one YouTube video and they go, oh, well, I guess I can't do that. I'm like, no. You want to be a high performer, you do your homework. And you do your homework daily. Every day you're trying to learn, trying to new things, testing things out, measuring things with that scientific approach. That every day you're doing your homework. What worked today? What didn't work today? Do you know how many people I know don't ask that question at the end of the day? You know what? More people at the end of the day go, what do we watch on Netflix? Than ask, what worked today? What didn't work today? I mean, sometimes you just got to get, high performance is about the fundamentals, discipline, common sense, applied over and over and over and over again. So at the end of the day, I go, what worked today? That's research. It's a scientific mind. It's saying, where am I? Where do I want to go? What's working? What's not working? And noticing what's working and amplifying that. But you got to start with doing the homework for your dreams. You know, when I began, I went to seminars and bought courses and read books on how to write books. I went to speaking classes on how to speak. I read everything I could about people in my industry or great leaders in history who I could learn from their communication patterns. I started reading a book a week when I was 19 years old, which is a big dream of mine. And I'm now at, 20 plus years later, I'm in my 40s, and I've read a book a week, and I've only missed 3 weeks. I get 1 week. If I'm honest, there's been 4 weeks now, but I don't count that week because there was, it's none of your business. I just didn't count that week. But anyway, I've been reading a lot of books because I'm always doing homework. I think it's important. All research or all homework, it's got to be diligent and consistent. You don't do it once and then forget about it. Just like you don't go to grad school and you watch, you go to 4 classes in the first week and then you don't come back again. You got to stay in class, man. Stay in class. It is one of my most quoted phrases now from High Performance Habits is that if you leave your growth to randomness, you'll always be stuck in the land of mediocrity. Doing your research means designing your curriculum. A lot of people fail to get any momentum because they learn just enough and they just do that. But they never kept learning, so they never drew a bigger circle. If you keep learning and doing the research, you draw the bigger circle.
You must choose the life of excellence. You must choose to reach for that high performance experience, not go through the average experience in life. You deserve more than a humdrum, boring, distracted, unfocused, unmotivated life. To get more of that vibrancy, that pop, that connection, that fulfillment, you got to refuse mediocrity. I know when I walk in the office some days, listen guys, when I walk in the office some days, I don't feel like it. So I do everything we've talked about here and everything with the high performance planner or my morning routines or everything we're covering in coaching month to month to month to month. Everything that you are learning as you stay with us, as you progress right here, because I won't let you off. Every month I'm going to challenge you. Every month I'm going to remind you of that discipline. Every month I'm going to cheer you on. You have so much extraordinary power and capability in your body. Don't ever forget that. Your mind, your heart, your soul, it is geared and bred and built for service, for something extraordinary. You got something to give in this world, something to create in this world. So on the down days, on the discouraging days, you don't lose the day because you refuse to be mediocre. You say, no, I have the mindset. I have the identity. It is my role to be the person who shows up with excellence. You are a high performer. You know there's another level of experience for you. Brendon, how do I deal with self-hate? Whoa, what a great question, right? Because be honest, how many of you have ever just, you're discouraged because somewhere inside there's something about yourself you don't like, or maybe even you resent or you despise, you're angry about? Anyone ever been there before? And it just kind of gets in the way of your creativity because maybe you've done something or someone said something and you internalize it into such a self-criticism that self-criticism became recurrent. And that self-criticism got into a loop in such a way you don't like yourself. Or maybe something failed. You tried to do something, you looked silly or you got shamed by it, someone said something mean. And because you're in that space, you can't create in flow. Your spontaneity is no good anymore. Your excitement to do anything is no good anymore. And maybe it never really was fully because something happened to you before. And I think that is something to always be working on. I know the opposite people will say is, self-love. It's hard to go from self-hate to self-love in a Zoom call. So I encourage you who struggle with this, get some assistance, get a therapist, get a coach. But often what has to happen in that bridge between self-hate and self-love is a big session of forgiveness, a big session of resetting expectations, and a big session of realigning to get yourself into integrity, where your words and your actions and your momentum matches the person you want to be. So we'll talk about some of that today, because I think that's the bridge. When you need to go from self-hate to self-love, we've got to get in a place of forgiveness, resetting some expectations, and realigning to some integrity. And until we do that, I think it's hard to be in that state of personal freedom where you really can give and serve at your best. And I don't say that in a preachy way. I think that's a hard journey. And we've all been there. Sometimes it's, big things and sometimes it's little things. You got to have the right people on the bus. You got to have the right support team. You got to have the people around you, your family, the kids, your spouse, your partners. They got to be clear about the plan, understanding about the process, part of the practice, and in it with you. And for those who haven't got support, or you keep thinking you're going to hire, or whatever. It's like, and then you've heard me say this all year, you got to get the sport, you got to get the team, you got to get the A players. We have 4 new people starting at Growth Day this month in October, 4 new people. And it's just like, okay. And some of that, really, we're hiring for the future there. We're really hiring for the future there with all 4 roles. We've been chugging along without those 4 roles. But it's like, okay, looking out in the plan, longer term process thinking in mind, making sure not going to burn out the team. Let's bring these people on, even though we've been succeeding without them. It's that thinking always about your plan and your process and your people so that you can support them. And many of you, the greatest gift you're going to give yourself is finally somebody to help you. You've got to learn to feel the goodness of life. I know this sounds super esoteric. Don't worry, I'll get more tactical for some of you who are like, come on, dude. But so many people don't feel like they matter because they've never felt life. Who knows what I'm talking about? They don't feel like they matter. They've never felt life. They've never felt the energy of this moment. There's no connection to the presence. It's what I've been teaching for so long now. You have to condition yourself to feel the day. You have to condition yourself to feel the day. This means you have to notice moments and appreciate it, have gratitude for it, recognize beauty, recognize something happening around you that draws awe, aspiration, inspiration. It means feeling the goodness of life, also having perspective to realize how much better your life is than some of the other alternatives. It means, for example, recognizing the struggles of other people and being thankful that you are gifted something different, and knowing that in the magic of this very moment, you have new choices. And if you're looking for what's there, there's no goodness in life, Brendon. It's all arbitrary and chaotic. And I'm like, but isn't it true you have choice at this moment? You can choose your next thought. You can choose to pick up the thing on your desk. You can choose to call somebody after this session. You got a lot of choices. If there's any great goodness in life, it's the fact that you got a lot of choice. It's the fact in this moment you can make a change. But it's the fact that you can also aim your awareness and aim your focus to take something in that's beautiful and good. Because when you sense your goodness and you sense the world is good, others are good, life is good, this moment is imbued with goodness, then all of a sudden you feel different. And when you feel that around you and you feel that from within, you start to say, this really matters. This means something. If you don't recognize the beautiful gift of life, it's hard to ever recognize that you are a gift and that you matter.
Because you made it this far in a video, I want to celebrate you. Most people start and don't finish. Most people never actually follow through. Most people say they want something, but they don't ever do the work to actually get it. But you are different. You are special. Believe Nation, you made it here all the way to the end, and I love you. So as a special celebration, if you put a hashtag believe down in the comments below on this video, I will showcase you and celebrate you somewhere on the screen in a future video because you are awesome.
For 10 more amazing reels from Jim Quick, check the video right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
They manage their priorities. They get really good at the things that matter every single day. Now, how can you apply this again? Well, some of the most successful people out there, yes, they have a to-do list.